the U.S. women's national team last night, both you and I stayed up late to watch that game, and it was not good. After the game ended, a very uninspired 0-0 tie with Portugal where they were one post away from going home.
Clean look.
The entire Fox crew, it was like one big episode of Undisputed, right? Rob Stone, Carly Lloyd, Alexi Lawless. It's like they were waiting to unload on the women's national team for such an uninspired effort. Here's Carly Lloyd, former U.S. women's national star who retired in 2021, who had this and more to say about the United States women's national team tying last night, not being the team that she thought they could be, not being the team that we thought they could be, and instead just a night where they were lucky to move on. There was questions about why is the United States, why are the women, why are they dancing, why are they signing autographs? They're lucky to be moving on. They almost went home. It was one big, and I'll tell you, Mike, it was like a feeding frenzy. Like, you could tell they can't wait to just tear into the women's national team after this was over. I mean, it was like my television was bloody watching them talk after the game was over.
Well, but even during the broadcast, it was starting to get to that point. You know, all right, where's the burst? Where's that surge, right? A couple of times Morgan would get the ball ahead, and decision-making is different. Look, the timing's different, and that goes into, like, the deeper analysis of, at least from my untrained eye, and, you know, on the soccer world, and just having watched it and talked to as many people as I could. We've got friends that have joined the show through these years, but there's no continuity, and the age is showing, and the lack of separation, and all of those things come through. And in the broadcast, there were a lot of pieces of kind of dead time because they didn't want to go all in against what the women were putting up. Right, the number of, all right, we've moved it into the zone, and now there's no movement, no flow, no connectivity. No, all right, ball's coming back the other way.
Here's Carly Lloyd, part of her dramatic assessment of the United States after the game.
I have never witnessed, and just seeing these images for the first time right now on the desk, I have never witnessed something like that. There's a difference between being respectful of the fans and saying hello to your family, but to be dancing, to be smiling. I mean, the player of the match was that post. You were lucky to not be going home right now.
Okay. She's not wrong.
Well, it's like the Sean Payton of last week.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
No, she's not wrong. But everything you heard, and I agree with with a lot of the criticism, but there's something that everybody's overlooking we're going to get to in a second. I mean, everybody is overlooking this. But you could tell that they were just waiting for this. And Vlatko Andonovski today said the criticism was insane. I can't believe that Carly would say that. I'll tell you exactly why this happened and why the United States was dancing and signing autographs after. When you're playing a tournament halfway around the world, you're in a bubble. Right? You're in a bubble. You're not, if the United States was playing a game, it was here in the United States, they're playing in Chicago and they tied. Are they signing autographs with fans? Are they dancing after? Maybe not, because they understand the fire and brimstone that's coming for them because this is the overwhelming favorite and they're not playing well. But you're playing halfway around the world and you're still right now insulated from all of that criticism. You're moving on. Let's not forget the United States moved on. And you know that as long as you tie and had a draw, you move on. So that's all it was. You're moving on, and that's what. So they're a little bit inured to that and immune to that. The same thing is true for Carly Lloyd and Alexi Lawless and Rob Stone, who are all players who played the sport for a long time, fans of the sport. They're sitting at their desk the entire game watching, and they're watching with a critical eye, and you can tell every time there was a lot of bad plays made by the United States, they're mad. And Alexi, what is that play by Alex Morgan, which I said about 100 times last night going, what the hell is going on here? What is that play by Alex Morgan? What is that play here? What are they doing here? So they're cooking on that all the way through the game. So when they come on the air after, it is a bloodbath. It is an absolute, so I understand because they're in their own bubble. The four of them on the set watching what's going on. right? So I understand both reactions. I understand why the United States was signing autographs and look, we are moving on. We're going to get criticized, but we're not hearing that right now, and why they said it on the set for Fox. Now, the couple of big things that we're not talking about are, and you can go all the way through on so many things with this team, right? You can go the big picture of Carly Lloyd, who said that they look like they're entitled, they look like they are arrogant. I don't see any cohesion. I don't see anything more than individuals trying to play. They haven't had time together. All of these things she's right about. These are all big picture things she's right about, and I don't doubt any of that. Now, Carly Lloyd, of course, didn't have the greatest ending with the women's national team.
Sure.
For the end of her career, she thought I should be playing more. She was coming off the bench. She showed that I can keep scoring goals. The two biggest things to take away from this with the United States, and yes, all of those things are true for Carly Lloyd. Number one is not every team is great, okay? Just because they are viewed as the best team in the world, and we thought they were the best team, and they've won the last two World Cups, doesn't mean this edition of the United States team is great. No, they have problems, just like all the other countries have problems. This is just because you play on the U.S. women's national team and you keep hearing, Trinity Rodman. Trinity Rodman is not a great player yet. Okay, Trinity Rodman's not a great player. Alex Morgan is not the player she was 4 years ago, which, oh, by the way, what did I tell you was the biggest thing? Is Alex Morgan still an elite scorer? As you can see, she is not. Megan Rapinoe, how many minutes is she going to play? Just because we think they are doesn't mean they're a great team. And now, after you've seen the first 3 games they've played, you can tell they're a good team. Other teams are good too. They can win, they can lose. That's just the reality of this. This is not, they're not wall-to-wall superstars. Mm-hmm. Rose Lavelle is a pretty good player, but is she a big-time superstar? She's not, right? She's a good player, but she's not.
And she's not available.
As gritty as Lindsey Horan is, and she's my favorite player on the U.S. women's national team, Lindsey Horan, so far in this tournament, has been really good, but she's also been a little bit invisible at times. And she got subbed out last night, which really surprised the hell out of me.
Saw that,
in the final 10 minutes. Like, okay, so something's going on there. So they're not a great team. Just because you see them put the uniform on, every team is different. And this is just a down cycle for the United States women's national team. They're waiting for the next level of superstars to come. There's no Rapinoe on this team. Sophia Smith is not Alex Morgan. I mean, you're talking about some of the greatest soccer players in the history of the world that have won the last couple of cups. And as well, they're good because we're the United States. No, that's the big thing that people don't get. But on the field, the thing that gets it, you and I talked about this before the show tonight, is you've seen a lot of criticism. Some of this criticism is a little bit misappropriated, because you've heard, if you watch the games, hey, the United States, they feel like they're playing slow. A lot of their moves are very predictable, and that's really not the case. Watching this team, they are slow. They're slow. Because the last time we saw this team play was not in the World Cup, but it was in the Olympics when they looked slow. And they looked like we're getting run up and down the field. And what have you seen the first 3 games? Have our forwards run free for shots on goal? No. The defenses always have a chance to get back and get in their passing lanes. Are you seeing midfielders run free? Is Rose Lavelle getting downfield unimpeded with a chance to set up a play? No. Defenders are on her. And they're fouling, and they're stopping the United States, because the United States team speed is slow. So you have that big case of, okay, the team is not great, but the number one thing, and that's a roster problem, is that it's hard to win when you don't have team speed. You watch all the other teams we play, they're all making plays. The defense is getting back big. All right, you're seeing the other teams blow by some of our players, and that's a huge thing that is not fixable. Right, that is not fixable when you have no team speed. And when watching the game last night, I'm watching breakouts going, well, there's instead of a big through ball here, or here's a big volley. No, this is going to be broken up, and it's not going to get through because they're just not fast enough. It's not about, oh, they're playing slow. No, their team speed is not good.
Going to have to pull back and create an opportunity. And while they did outshoot Portugal, what was it, 17-5 or something was the final tally, and then you have the post shot is really the thing that leaves the big mark on the game. Is possession was more Portugal. Lavelle, now with the yellow card, she's going to miss the next match, so that's a big deal. You talk about Rapinoe and Alex Morgan. Well, Morgan had chances. She gets caught. or she's trying, and we watch it at all levels. You watch it with your daughter's team, and this is she's reverting to some of the stuff early on. It's like, take your shot, right? You've got the opening. You found the daylight, take your shot. Dribbling back into traffic, into the box, you're not getting the ball through 3 defenders. It's just not working. And so what do we see? The ball bounced and redirected the other way. Time and again, Rapinoe, a couple of chances coming once she subbed into the game. You got a little bit of spark of energy, but that's short-lived. And you talk Rodman, you talk Smith, you talk a lot of young players. It's exciting for what may become. But remember, the larger picture does play here is that the rest of the world's caught up. Conditioning-wise, team-wise, strategy-wise. For the U.S., you've got the NWSL. It's still playing now, right? Our guy, Isaac Lowenkron, working for Angel City. But, what did you have? All right, we met for a flight, and we got to hang out and drink lattes before we got on a flight to New Zealand. And then, 3 or 4 days before you're into match activity? Like, that's not months of training. That's not, hey, let's integrate all these new faces and new bodies and figure out where there's flow, where there can be some operational efficiencies gained, and all of that showing on the pitch, right? How many times have you seen, all right, there's a bit of a breakout, and then you look around, it's like, all right, I'm going 1-on-4. We've got to pull it back because I don't have anybody running with me. And so it's just a different animal and a different game, and I think it's great that the rest of the world's caught up. It's great for the game. For the U.S., it gets to the criticism. And to address your original point, though, of you're insulated, hey, you still got through, right? Succeed and proceed. It's not the result you wanted. And who loves a 0-0 tie? Nobody. Nobody. The players don't love it. Fans hate it. The broadcasters didn't get to do a big goal call, so they're salty too. But you got through. And look, the criticism's going to come, and hopefully you're mature enough and you've been in the game and spotlight long enough that should just wash off you. It won't, because once they hear it, just like Coach did, they're going to have their response to it. But people are expecting dominance, and that's you get used to it. You get accustomed to it, right? You expect the Dodgers to be in the playoffs every year. For a long time, you expected the Lakers to be good. Then you had a decade where everybody lost their minds. Like, I'm sorry, for a decade they were like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm used to hey, every once in a while my team has a shot, I get excited. I don't get spoiled by it, man. I don't get spoiled by dominance. I don't know what that means.
What do you got, Frostberg?
There's a big silver lining in all of this with the women's national team, guys.
What's
They're
that?
not the Mets?
They even play later in the morning where nobody's going to watch for the next two games.
Yeah.
So
Next 2 games are really smack dab in the middle of the night. It's
we won't miss it.
What do they have?
It's
What do they
gonna
have?
be tough.
They've got the
It's
3
Sunday,
o'clock
it's
one?
like
or?
3
it's
a.m.
horrible.
Yeah,
No,
it's
Okay, so
terrible.
they've got the 3
It's
o'clock
really
instead
difficult.
of the midnight?
It's
Yeah.
really difficult.
Worse than last night.
But here's the thing is that I don't know how much the rest of the world is caught up, because when you hear the rest of the world caught up, you think like globally, here's all these teams that are better.
but it only takes
certain,
2 to 5.
Certain
right?
teams have gotten better. Surely, look, Sweden's playing. Look, Japan is running.
Well, but
through the World
Sweden,
Cup
look
well.
at their first
Yeah.
game in this tournament was a train wreck. I watched that live, looking around, going, "This is supposed to be the number 3 team in the world." Like, if you're a U.S. fan, you didn't feel so bad watching that one.
Yeah.
But now here they are, and they've gotten right.
But this is not so much that as it is. This is a U.S. team that has come back to the pack a little bit because they're not as talented.
Sure.
Now, it's not a team that can't win the World Cup, because they can, but they're a team that can easily get beat by anybody left in the knockout round. You just had a play-in where you're playing the lowest seeded team and you only beat them 3-0, and you got 2 draws. One was against a good team. One was against a team that's not even a top 20 team in the world.
Not even close.
And they looked faster. They looked fresher. They looked everything. It was really difficult.
Well, they also savored the opportunity to knock the U.S. out, right?
Right, but
don't discount
no,
that.
but they had their chance to win. See, the
Yeah,
one
yeah.
thing they did, honestly, they went for the win way too late. Like Portugal needed to be, and that's the one thing
Just
that
aggressive
I'm
from
watching
the
the game. I'm
outset.
going. They needed, once they got to like the 70th minute, they needed to say, all right, we got to go, because we can win
We
and
got
we
speed,
can move on.
we can make a push.
But
yeah.
they didn't really do that until like the 85th minute. And you saw at that point it was, Oh, wow. And the United States not making the substitutions till late. They had a lot of tired legs. Like, if they had started going, because you got to go, because hey, we can move on here, but we got to win the game. Once you get to that 70th minute, okay, we played 25 minutes here in the second half. It's still zip. We need some time to get going to get that goal. So, thankfully for the United States, they really started to press way too late, where they only had about 10 or 12 minutes of game time to press.
You know what's great? As we're sitting here in the TireRack.com Fox Sports Radio studios, it's now starting again, so I can curse for the next 2 hours, just like I did in the middle of the night last night. We'd finished up a soccer tournament down in Del Mar. My kid's sitting there. She's got a giant ice pack on her head, stitches. Thank you for taking care of everything yesterday as I attended to her. But we're sitting there, and we're muttering under our breaths for 2 hours. What are we watching?
Yeah, it was. Look, it's just not as good a team, and they're slow. And you
Like
can't
the
be
Mets.
slow. You can't. No. Well, yeah, the Mets are slow. Mets are slow. They don't steal bases. Neither do the Dodgers, by the way.